So, what to do with all those leftovers? Hello, and welcome to the Mind of Sunnyvale. I am Wanda, aka Sunnyvale, and it is good to see you virtually. I would like to welcome you to my channel where I just talk about what's going on with me in my life, and I share some things that have helped me or some things that didn't quite work out the way I thought they would. And maybe you can share with me and the rest of our community things that have worked out great for you or things that we should probably avoid doing. So today we are going to talk about leftovers. And although for a lot of people that could be a negative thing, having leftovers, it can actually be a great time for you to be creative or to try something new. But before we get started, if you haven't already, please remember to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you will know when I release a new video. I hope to release them more frequently. As you know from my past videos, I started a new job and that's kind of changed my schedule a bit. So I hope to be able to release them more frequently and share more information with you. In the US, we just celebrated Thanksgiving very recently, and leftovers are kind of a Thanksgiving tradition at this point, kind of like Black Friday is. And it's funny, this year I was thinking about Black Friday, and in the past, there were times when people would get up very early in the morning and wait in line at stores to get that one item that everyone was trying to get that year. And it's totally different now because now we all sit at our homes and sit on our laptops and we order things online from the comfort of our home. And Black Friday isn't even just one day, it stretches like over a 2 or 3 week period at this point. So it's just funny how traditions change over time, but leftovers, they will be with us forever. So when I think about leftovers, it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because I get to be creative and I get to maybe try something new. So if you look on the internet and search, you will find many, many recipes for people telling you how to use your leftover, mashed potatoes to turn it into fried potato balls and all different kinds of things. So reusing leftovers or thinking of what to do with leftovers apparently is something that all of us have to do. So one very easy way to use your leftovers is to share it with other people. That's right. I'm sure some of you sent people from your homes, if you hosted this year, with to-go plates and all the food that you didn't want to have to put away that night. But not only can you give it to the people who actually ate with you that day and took it with them, but you can think about whether there is an elderly or an older person in your community or your building or someone you know from work, someone who might be spending the holiday alone. Another group I think about are college students. Most of them do go back home, but some of them aren't able to travel and they might not get, a home cooked meal for the holiday. So if you have leftovers, think about people around you that you can possibly share it with, or people who might not have had a chance to get the meal that you got in your circle of friends or in your neighborhood, and share it with them. That way the food doesn't go to waste and you're not eating the same thing over and over and over again. One of my favorite ways to handle leftovers is to freeze it. So I use a vacuum sealer and I really, really, really like using my vacuum sealer. I use it all the time. And I usually vacuum after no more than a day, maybe 2 with leftovers. I will vacuum seal it because after that, to me, the taste isn't the best for me. But But after about a day or two, when I know we're not eating anymore, I will vacuum seal it, put it in the freezer, with the date and a description of what it is, just in case I forget what I made. For example, I love to make broccoli rice casserole. And that's something I could eat all year round, but I usually only make it for the holidays because it's a little bit of labor, but it's not too much. But I don't normally make that just as a regular everyday meal. So it's like a casserole. So I take it and cut it into squares, and I put maybe 5 or 6 squares into a vacuum sealed bag, and I seal it. And when I kind of have a craving for broccoli rice casserole during the year, maybe in March, I want casserole, then I can defrost it and heat it back up in the oven. And it's still just as good as when I made it the first time, if not better. The flavors are really saturated. It's really good. So that's something I would advise if you have leftovers and you feel like you're throwing them away or it's a waste. If it's something that can be frozen, I would suggest getting a vacuum sealer and sealing it, and you can have it later in the year. I really like to do that with. I've even done it with some desserts. Some desserts freeze really well, like brownies and things like that. So if I make a big batch and I know I want to have it later in the year, or if it's just a baking day for me and I make a big batch of something, I can, have some that day and I can freeze the rest and have it later. So I found vacuum sealing and freezing have worked really well for me. And like I said, the taste isn't affected for me if you do it within 1 to 2 days of when you first serve the meal. I haven't found a decline in the flavor. So that's an option that I really like. So maybe it'll help you. And of course, the way that most of us think of to handle leftovers is to repurpose them. Because I don't know about you, in my house, Thanksgiving dinner becomes Black Friday breakfast and lunch and maybe dinner. But after that, my family's kind of tired of having it. So I try to think of different ways to use the same food and, present it in a different way so that they can enjoy it. So this year, for example, I had some leftover turkey and some gravy. And from that, I'm going to make a turkey pot pie. Very simple. Instead of, you usually think of chicken pot pie, I'm just turning it into turkey pot pie. Very simple. I usually have frozen vegetables in my freezer most of the time. So I think I just needed to buy pie crust because I didn't feel like making it. So I just bought some pie crust, and simple. I now have a dinner through the week, and it's presenting the food in a different way than what we had on Thanksgiving. Another thing I'm doing this year is making sliders. I had leftover rolls and I had leftover ham. So for my family, I bought Swiss cheese. We're going to have ham and Swiss sliders. Simple idea, simple way to use the food, but it's presented in a different way. So maybe your family had roast beef leftovers. Make roast beef and cheddar sliders. And maybe you're going to use your turkey in your sliders. That's great. Use turkey slider, make turkey sliders. But really, it's a very versatile way to use your leftover rolls and your leftover whatever meat you had. You can use it that way. So it's just something to think about. How do I use what I have to make something a little different? And like I said, it's a great time to be creative. Try something new. Go online, search for recipes. And this isn't only good for holiday meals. No, if you have leftover chicken, maybe you make, chicken salad or famous chicken pot pie I mentioned. Or maybe you can make fried rice with, adding chicken to it. It's whatever works for your family and whatever you're comfortable making, because there are really simple recipes out there to reuse what you have. Another of my favorite, I mentioned fried rice. That's one of my favorite ways to use white rice. If I have leftover white rice from a meal, I use that and I make fried rice with it, and my family loves it. Again, I usually have eggs and frozen vegetables in my freezer, in my fridge or freezer all the time. And you can add whatever meat of choice, or you can leave it vegetarian if you like. You can add, shrimp or chicken or pork, whatever you want to do. So I encourage you to find ways to use those leftovers and, make it a whole year kind of activity. You don't have to just do it for major holidays like New Year's or Christmas or Thanksgiving or Labor Day. I don't know. You don't have to just do it for major holidays. You can use it throughout the year to make sure we waste a little less food and we're able to enjoy what we made. So how about you? What are some of the things that you like to do with leftovers? Have you thought of something that maybe I didn't mention? Please feel free to share in the comments and help us to use those leftovers wisely. I really enjoyed talking to you virtually today. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you have not already. And I look forward to talking to you the next time. That's all for now. Goodbye.